Okay, so get this. President Trump is back in the White House.
Oh, wow.
And he's brought Elon Musk in to kind of shake things up.
Interesting.
As his efficiencies are.
Interesting.
As his...
I did not see that coming.
You heard that right?
Wow.
The Elon Musk.
Okay.
So we're deep diving today into the Department of Government Efficiency.
Okay.
Or DOGE for short.
DOGE.
DOGE.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
sounds like a meme.
Yeah. Well, sources that you gave me paint a pretty wild picture here.
Okay.
We've got lawsuits, we've got blocked access, we've got whispers of hundreds of billions.
Hundreds of billions.
In wasted government funds.
Okay.
And now DOGE has set its sights on the Pentagon.
Oh, wow. So this is an initiative with some teeth.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big deal. And this isn't just about, like, trimming a little bit of fat from the budget.
Right.
DOGE aims to fundamentally change how the entire government operates.
I see.
And what better place to start than the Pentagon with its nearly $1 trillion budget?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna make a statement, you got to go home, right?
Exactly. And it seems like this is Trump fulfilling a campaign promise, right?
Right.
Draining the swamp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This seems to fit right into that narrative.
Yeah.
The sources really highlight how Trump sees DOGE as the ultimate swamp draining tool.
Yeah.
And in fact, he's even quoted as saying he expects to find hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse.
So what exactly is DOGE's mission?
Okay.
I mean, what are they actually doing day to day?
So DOGE is tasked with going into federal agencies and identifying any waste that they can.
Okay.
Streamlining processes, eliminating anything that's redundant, and ultimately reducing spending.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a classic efficiency drive.
Yeah.
But on a massive scale.
Huge scale.
And with Elon Musk at the helm.
Yeah. And that's where things get really interesting.
Right. It seems like Trump's logic here is that Musk's success with Tesla and SpaceX makes him uniquely qualified to spot inefficiencies.
Yeah, that seems to be the thinking.
Right.
Trump views Musk as this like tech-savvy problem solver who can bring fresh thinking to a government that's, maybe bogged down a little bit of bureaucracy.
Yeah, and wouldn't that approach clash with how the government operates? I mean, Musk is known for speed and disruption, and government is, well, the opposite of that.
Yeah, that's a great point, and you can already see that friction is happening.
Yeah.
A lot of the sources detail several lawsuits and accusations of illegality.
Really?
There's even a federal judge who blocked DOGE from accessing the Treasury Department's records.
Wow.
Citing the risk of irreparable harm.
So this is serious stuff.
Yeah, this is not
a joke.
This is not a drill.
Yeah.
This is a real.
So who exactly is criticizing DOGE?
Well, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just coming from one side. We're seeing Democrats, civil service unions.
Okay.
And even some Republicans have voiced concerns about DOGE's methods and the potential for overreach.
I see.
They argue that Musk and his team simply don't have the experience or expertise to handle the complexities of government.
Right.
Especially when it comes to sensitive areas like national security.
And some of the sources also point out potential conflicts of interest.
Right.
Particularly with Musk's SpaceX contracts with the Department of Defense.
Yeah, that's a major red flag for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It raises the question of whether DOGE's recommendations will be truly impartial or if they'll be influenced by Musk's own business interests.
So to understand Musk's approach, I think we need to look at his track record. He's a tech guy, right? Big believer in AI and automation.
Absolutely. I mean, Musk views technology as the key to solving pretty much every problem, including government inefficiency.
Okay.
And he's been very critical of traditional defense approaches like the F-35 fighter jet program.
The F-35? What's wrong with that?
Well, Musk considers it bloated and outdated.
Okay.
He's argued publicly that the F-35 relies too heavily on expensive custom-made parts and requires complex maintenance, making it vulnerable to delays and budget overruns.
Makes sense.
He believes that simpler modular drone systems would be much more adaptable and cost-effective.
Okay, so more drones, fewer fighter jets.
Potentially.
That would be a huge shift for the military.
It would be a massive change.
Yeah.
And, think about this. It would be a big win for companies like Anduril, which is a Silicon Valley defense startup specializing in drones.
Right.
And Palantir, which focuses on AI-powered data analysis for defense and intelligence.
Okay.
These companies are perfectly positioned to benefit from DOGE's tech-centric approach.
It sounds like Musk wants to bring the Silicon Valley mindset to the Pentagon. But these sources mention that DOGE started with smaller targets, right? Like USAID and the General Services Administration.
Yes, they started with agencies that perhaps wouldn't put up as much resistance. There was even an incident where 30 House Democrats were blocked from entering the Department of Education building to meet with the acting secretary.
Wow.
Yeah. So
a little bit of a power play.
DOGE's methods have been quite disruptive so far.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
And now that they're setting their sights on the Pentagon, things are about to get even more intense.
Yeah, buckle up.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. Yeah, it really does make you wonder what a Musk-led Pentagon would actually look like.
Right, like would we see soldiers tweeting battle plans?
Well, maybe not quite like that, but I do think the changes would be a lot more profound.
Okay.
I mean, Musk is really big on first principles thinking.
First principle thinking?
Yeah, he dismantles these really complex problems down to their, like, basic elements.
Okay.
And then rebuilds solutions from scratch.
So, like, a total reboot?
Yeah, a total rethink.
Okay.
So imagine him applying that to the Pentagon's procurement processes.
Right, which everyone always criticizes, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. They've been criticized for being so slow and inefficient.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Okay, so we're talking, instead of like lumbering bureaucracies, we'd see like agile development cycles, rapid prototyping.
Exactly.
Constant drive for innovation.
Yeah, I mean, Musk really thrives in these environments where speed and adaptability are just so important.
Right.
And so he's likely to prioritize technologies that offer that faster, more iterative approach to problem solving.
Okay.
Which could really disrupt the traditional defense industry.
Okay, and speaking of disruption, Musk has been pretty vocal about the F-35 program.
Yeah, he's not a fan.
What would he propose instead?
Well, he's a big believer in unmanned systems.
Unmanned?
Yeah, like drones.
Okay.
He argues that the F-35, while it is, technologically advanced, it's just too expensive and too complex to maintain.
So more drones, fewer fighter jets.
That seems to be his thinking. Yeah.
I mean, that would be a radical shift for the military.
It would.
What about the ground troops, though? How would Musk's approach impact them?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Oh, okay.
Imagine soldiers equipped with AI-powered exoskeletons.
Exoskeleton?
Yeah, that would enhance their strength and endurance.
Okay.
Or augmented reality systems that provide real-time battlefield information.
Wow.
We might even see robotic units working alongside human soldiers, taking on the dangerous tasks.
That's like out of a movie.
It really is.
So it's like sci-fi becoming reality.
Yeah, in a way it is.
But doesn't all of this raise some serious ethical concerns?
Absolutely.
Right? Like, what about the potential for autonomous weapons systems making like life or death decisions without human intervention?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges we face as we, move towards a more automated military.
Right.
It's something lawmakers, ethicists, and technologists really need to address.
Like?
Yeah. How do we ensure that there's still human oversight and control in a world where machines are more and more capable of acting independently?
What about the impact on military personnel? I mean, would we see a smaller armed forces if we're relying more on robots and drones?
Well, it's definitely a possibility.
Right.
A leaner, more technologically advanced military might not need as many people.
So that would save money, but...
Right. It could lead to significant cost savings.
But there are also, like, social and economic consequences.
Oh, absolutely.
That we'd have to consider.
Right. You can't just ignore those.
Yeah.
Those are real people's lives.
The sources also talk about how Musk wants to take this beyond the battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he wants to use AI and software to revolutionize areas like logistics and planning and even cybersecurity.
Exactly.
So it's about more than just fighting wars.
Right. It's about managing all of these complex systems more effectively.
Okay. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine an AI system that can optimize supply chains, predict potential threats, respond to cyber attacks in real time.
Wow.
You're talking about massive improvements in efficiency and responsiveness.
So it seems like he's not just trying to reform the Pentagon. He's trying to, like, build a whole new kind of military.
I think that's a good way to put it.
But the sources also say that not everyone's happy about this.
Of course not. I mean, this is a huge change, and there are a lot of concerns.
Like what?
Well, they highlight concerns about Musk's potential conflicts of interest, his lack of experience with government, and the possibility of DOGE operating with too much secrecy.
So basically they're worried about transparency and accountability.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
So how do we balance the potential benefits of Musk's vision with these very legitimate concerns?
I think that's the million-dollar question right now. One key factor is going to be the role of Congress.
Right.
Will they provide appropriate oversight of what DOGE is doing?
Right.
Will they demand transparency and accountability from them?
And the public, too, right?
Absolutely.
What do people think about all of this?
Right. The public's reaction is going to be really important as well.
Will they be okay with a more technologically advanced military?
Or will they push back against the potential risks?
Right.
It's a tough question.
Yeah, this is a really interesting dilemma, and it's happening at a time when there's already so much political polarization and distrust of all these institutions.
I mean, it really makes you think about fundamental questions of power and accountability and even the future of democracy itself.
So this is about way more than just technology.
Oh, yeah, this is a really complex situation.
Yeah, it's like a high-stakes chess game with the U.S. military as the pieces.
Yeah, and we're all watching to see what Musk's next move will be.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to remember that even if Musk does manage to, totally overhaul the Pentagon, he's still going to face another challenge.
What's that?
Actually implementing these changes within a system that's notoriously resistant to change.
Yeah, the Pentagon doesn't exactly have a reputation for being, flexible and adaptable.
No, not at all.
So even if Musk has all these brilliant ideas, getting them implemented is going to be really tough.
Oh, yeah, he's going to have to really navigate the complexities of the Pentagon's internal politics.
Okay.
Build alliances and overcome resistance from the people who are happy with the status quo.
Right. They're not going to give up their power easily.
No, they're not.
And what about the impact on international relations?
Oh, that's another huge piece of this.
If the U.S. embraces this more technologically advanced, AI-driven military, how are other countries going to react?
Well, some of them might see it as a threat.
Right.
And try to catch up.
Could it start a new arms race?
It's definitely a possibility, yeah.
With countries investing heavily in their own AI and autonomous weapons programs.
And that could lead to more tension and instability around the world.
So this really highlights how important it is to talk about the role of technology in warfare.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to be having these open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI, the risks of autonomous weapons.
Right.
And, how we balance national security with things like individual rights.
And these conversations need to include everyone.
Exactly. Not just the policymakers and experts.
Right.
We need the public to be involved, too.
It's about everyone's future.
Absolutely.
So what can our listeners do to stay informed and get involved?
Well, there are tons of resources online.
Okay.
And, check out your local community groups.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out our social media for more info and updates on all of this.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on this for sure.
Yeah, it's really something, isn't it? One person having this much potential influence.
It is. It really makes you think about how much power an individual can actually have even in these massive institutions.
Right, like the Pentagon.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about Musk and his vision, but what about the people who are actually there?
Right.
The soldiers, the civilians who work at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
How would all of this affect them?
I mean, that's something we can't forget about, right?
Right.
If these reforms actually happen, there's a good chance we'll see jobs disappear.
Yeah.
As things become more automated.
The sources mention that too, that people are worried about losing their jobs and how that would impact morale.
Right, and that's completely understandable.
Right.
Nobody wants to think about losing their job.
Yeah, and it's not just about the people losing their jobs.
Right.
What about all that knowledge they have?
Oh, that's a huge concern.
If they let go of all these experienced people, won't that hurt the military in the long run?
Exactly. There's a real risk of losing all that expertise and experience that's been built up over time.
So how do you balance the need to modernize with the need to keep all that experience?
It's tricky.
Yeah.
It takes careful planning and a really thoughtful approach.
Could they, retrain people?
That's one option.
To do new jobs within the military?
Yeah, potentially.
That's a good point. And it also makes me think about how important communication and transparency are.
Oh, absolutely.
Throughout this whole process.
They need to be talking to everyone.
Right.
The military personnel, the civilian employees, the public. Everyone needs to be a part of this.
So we've talked about jobs and experience, but this whole thing also raises some bigger questions about the future of work. Not just in the military, but everywhere.
The technology is changing so fast.
And it's impacting every industry.
And we need to be ready for that.
We can do a whole deep dive on that.
Oh, definitely. That's a big one.
Yeah. And our sources barely even touched on international relations.
Oh, yeah.
How is this going to play out on the world stage?
Right. If the U.S. military goes all in on AI and autonomy, how are other countries going to feel about that?
Will they feel threatened?
Potentially.
Will they try to build up their own AI militaries?
I mean, it could turn into a whole new arms race.
Right, and maybe some countries will want to team up.
Yeah, to develop and regulate this stuff together.
This whole thing is so complicated.
It really is.
This DOGE thing.
It shows how everything's connected.
Technology, politics, global security.
It's all intertwined.
So, what should our listeners be thinking about?
Well, I think the main thing is this. We are in uncharted territory right now.
With all this AI stuff.
Yeah, AI and automation are changing the world.
And it's happening so fast.
It's creating amazing opportunities, but also big challenges.
And what are we going to do about it?
That's up to us.
Like all of us.
Yeah, as citizens, we need to be talking about this stuff.
About the role of technology. About how we balance innovation and security.
Right, and the kind of future we want.
For ourselves and our kids.
Exactly.
Those are big questions.
They are, and there are no easy answers.
But if we have these conversations.
If we stay informed.
Right.
And if we actually try to shape the future.
Yeah.
Then we can at least try to make sure technology is used in a good way.
A responsible and ethical way.
For the benefit of all.
I like that.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for joining us today on this deep dive into DOGE and Elon Musk and the future of the Pentagon.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting, and we want you to keep thinking about all of this.
Yeah, keep exploring.
And let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive.
On another fascinating topic.
So until then, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep asking those tough questions.
And thanks for listening.